So today's class is to honor the holiday of Purim. It's coming tomorrow. Tomorrow evening will be Purim, and we're going to do a little yoga that interconnects some of the underlying meanings of Purim with some traditional teachings of yoga. So before we get into that, I'm going to let you know what you need. And you will absolutely need a blanket as a prop. You will need your 2 blocks, your yoga strap or bathrobe tie, whatever is long. You will need your massage ball and a chair. The chair is for a forward fold that we're going to do. If you have lower back, any challenges with your lower back, or you tend to feel like your lower back is pulling a little bit when you're on the floor and moving into a forward fold, the chair, what I'm going to offer today are some options to do from a chair. If it doesn't bother you to be on your seat doing, let's say like this, like a one-legged forward fold, if you feel fine in your back for that with just maybe a little support under your knee, that's fine. You're welcome to take the pose later when we do it on the floor as an option, but I'm going to walk through some ways that we can get into that pose and the benefits of that pose from a chair, which is kind of fun because, it really shows us that we can do yoga anywhere and we don't actually always need a mat or a lot of floor space to get the benefits. So let's see what else I want to say about that. I think that's it. So for right now, you can sit either in a chair or on the floor, whatever's the most comfortable for you. I'm going to do a little reading. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I knew there was something else. For the forward fold in a chair, I'm going to show it with 2 chairs. So you'll be sitting on one chair with another, like the seat of another chair or something similar height to put your leg on. So just keep that in mind when we get to that option. Okay, now I'm ready to read this to you. So I love this. This is from a blog, a yoga blog, a Jewish and yoga blog. A significant theme connected with the holiday of Purim is that things are hidden. While the holiday of Passover tells many details of how God was involved with the Jews, the Purim Megillah has no mention of God at all. Not only is God never mentioned in the Purim Megillah, but the idea of concealment is apparent in the fact that Esther hides her Jewish identity from the king, and her name in Hebrew actually means hidden. As well, on Purim, there is a big custom of dressing up and wearing costumes and masks to hide our identities. Interestingly, the Jewish tradition of Kabbalah speaks of the hidden sparks of creation that we can find and liberate from their shells by doing mitzvot. In yoga philosophy, there is the concept of Maya, or illusion, that there is the idea that our true nature and our connection to the source is hidden from us for various reasons, things like our egos and physical distractions, for example. Yoga, which means union, has numerous tools in which to clean out the illusions, to get closer to and to see clearer to the source and to ourselves. So these yoga tools, some of the yoga tools that the writer is referring to in the yoga tradition are withdrawal, also called pratyahara. Withdrawal is taking your senses and bringing them inward. And we do that a lot with our sense mindfulness, sense meditations, just bringing everything inward and it's like selective hearing and selective sight and selective feeling, really, and just focusing in. The other tool we use in yoga is svadhyaya, which just simply means self-study. We do a lot of that in Torah study as well. So this idea of self-study happens when we have inquiries during our practice, or when we sit with an inquiry or a soul inquiry as we lead into the practice. And then the third tool is satya, which means truthfulness. And when we do our self-study, it wouldn't be any good if we weren't honest with ourselves about what we find, right? And so the goal of revealing our concealed selves and unveiling all of the masks and all of the costumes we wear, the goal is to get into that true self, that essence of who we are. And we can only do that by looking inward, bringing our attention inward, asking questions, and then being truthful with ourselves about what we find. So it's pretty powerful stuff. And we do all of this all the time in Neshamah yoga and in the other studies that we take on in our lives. So today, from a physical perspective, we're going to be doing a fair amount of forward folds and inversions. So we're bringing the head below the heart, either from a back position or from a standing position. Forward folds help us to practice the Pratyahara, the bringing your attention inward. And they also calm the nervous system. And I know we still are thirsty for that, needing that soothing of the nervous system from those different stressors that are happening in our lives. So when we're calm and our nervous system is in a place of rest, it allows us to see clearly, like physiologically. The prefrontal cortex works better when we're calm. So these just are so fascinating, the way they all come together. So we're going to do forward folds and just create this space for us to really reveal our true essence, to let our true essence speak to us, let our body speak to us. So that's a lot of words. Glad I have a little cough drop in my mouth. So we're going to move into our actual warm-ups and movements. So I'm going to come to the chair and you can follow along, or you can stay seated, like I said, on the floor. There's really nothing that we're doing here that you couldn't do on the floor if you prefer to be there. Let's see, I'll move over. Okay, yay. All right, so to start, we're just going to take some deep breaths and reach up. And hands to the heart. Inhale, breathe in through your nose if you're able to breathe through your nose. Fill up, fill up. Exhale slowly through pursed lips. Good, we're going to slow that down. Breathe in. Keep reaching until your lungs are full. And then time your hands and your breath so that when your lungs are empty, your hands are at your heart. Good. You can close your eyes at any time to practice Pratyahara, to start to bring the senses inward as you do this a few more times. Take your time moving through one more. Letting your hands find their way to your heart. And keeping the hands at the heart and the eyes, the gaze downward or eyes closed. Take a moment to set your own kavanah, your own intention for this practice. Maybe it includes some of the theme, or maybe there's something else. Good. So the first thing we're going to do is get into the hips. So we can squeeze the right knee up high into the rib cage area, and you can help guide that knee in some circles. Just bring some flex, some lubrication there. If it's hard to reach your leg, you can also sit on the edge of your chair and then just use the leg movement itself, which is a little more exercise, a little more effort with the leg muscles. Or you can do a little hybrid like I'm doing. So just getting into the hips. We're going to warm these up because we have a kneeling lunge in our future. Make sure you've gone both directions. Good. Yeah, you can stand next to your chair. You can modify this any way that works for you today. Let's change sides. Getting into that left side. Good. Keep breathing in through the nose and out slowly through the mouth. And release that left side. We're going to come back to the right side and take a figure 4 stretch. So we'll cross the right ankle over the left thigh. And if you're in a chair and that's really not very accessible for you, remember that you can cross your leg lower across the left side, and you can place your foot on a block just to kind of prop it up there. So we're just looking for a bend in that right knee, however much of a bend you can find in order to open up that right hip. When you find your placement of your leg, then you start to hinge forward at your hip crease. And if you're on your back, then you just gently pull the legs toward you. And breathe. You might look down at your standing foot, at the left foot. Make sure it's out in front of you enough that you can see it. Can your shoulders soften a little bit? Can your jaw soften? Good. Go ahead and come on up, and then we'll take that same stretch on the other side. Hinging at the hip crease, so thinking of having a flat back and an open chest as you come forward, like leading with your heart really, rather than rounding through the upper back. And breathe and let your face soften. Let your exhales bring you deeper into sensation. And throughout this practice, keep practicing satya, or truthfulness, by asking yourself, am I present right now? Am I present in my body? And what is true for me right now? What is my truth in this body? Go ahead and release that figure 4 on this side. We'll come into a twist. You have a couple of options, and give lots of options today. So you can either cross your right knee over your left, like you're just, sitting at a table somewhere, socializing, whatever. And you can bring your left hand to your top knee and take your twist. If that's too much on the lower back, keep your legs separated and even bring your right leg out to the side a bit, so that when you twist and reach back behind you, you have a little less torque on the lower back. So choose what version of the twist works for you. If you just cross your leg, you're going to get a still more outer hip stretch as well as a twist. And get really tall. So think of that axial extension that we talked about a few weeks ago, where the spinal column reaches up and creates some space between the vertebrae. Big breath in, and exhale, release, and then change sides, whatever version of the twist works for you today. Drop your shoulders down away from your ears, take your gaze behind you. And then come back to center. We're going to come into a forward fold now. So if you prefer to stand and take your forward folds, you can feel free to do that. Just remember to make sure you have a block nearby or someplace you can land. Always need a place to land. Never let your arms just hang. Never let just your fingertips barely touch. You want a place to land, okay? So if you can land on the floor, awesome. If you cannot land on the floor with solid ground, then use a prop. Otherwise, we're going to do a forward fold in the chair, which is easier on the lower back. This is why I'm offering it. Still get the benefits of the inversion. So if you're in a chair, well, you're going to come down, hinge at your hip crease and come down with your hands on your thighs to support you and your elbows tucked in close to your body. And you're going to come as low as you want and work on letting your head hang. So no matter what we're doing, whether we're standing or sitting, we're going to work on letting the head and neck have some traction. So let's all start in the same place by bringing our arms up overhead. Inhale, reach. Exhale, you're going to dive forward or bring your hands to your thighs and come into your forward fold. If you're standing, feel free to let your knees bend a little bit. Turn your head. Everybody turn your head from side to side. Nod yes. Tuck your chin and then release it. Take a breath here. Getting the benefits of Pratyahara, bringing the senses inward towards yourself. Calming the nervous system so that you have more clarity of mind. Good. Now pull your belly in. Everybody pull your belly in. And everybody press into your feet. Chair practitioners press into your hands. And then come all the way up. Good. And then just take a little breath here because that's a lot of upside down. Good. We're going to practice a modified downward dog. And if you are used to downward dog and you want to practice the like the more traditional version, you can do that. I'm going to do both. Sometimes I avoid downward dog in most of my classes only because a lot of people have wrist sensitivity. That's the only reason why. Otherwise, it's a really great posture. I'm going to offer you both. If you're coming into downward dog, you can come right into it by bringing your hands to the floor and walking your feet back and bring your body into like an inverted V. It's very, very helpful to have a blanket under your heels so that you've got a place, again, to land. And you can practice here in downward dog. If you have sensitive wrists, another option is to have blocks on the low setting, about shoulder width apart, and you bring the palms, the little base of your palms there, or the heel of your palms, you bring those to the edge of the block, and then you still walk back, and it changes the angle in your wrist, so there's not as much compression. Okay, so there's that. And then, that's if you want to do more of a deeper inversion. For chair downward dog, same thing, you bring the heels of your hands to the edge of your chair, and then you walk your feet out until you start to feel a little stretch, and then you allow your head to fall between your arms with your neck lined up with your arms, and you have your feet about hip width apart. Yeah, now everybody engage your belly, no matter what you've chosen. Engage your belly. Really pull it in. Good. And breathe here. This is a really good stretch for under the arms as well, which supports good healthy breathing. And then coming out of it, be really mindful that your belly's pulled in. If you're in a chair version, just walk your feet forward a little bit so that you can press into your hands and rise up without loading your lower back. You know, by loading your lower back, it means just like rolling up. Okay, so downward dog, so lots and lots of inversions here. So let's see what we want to do next. I have a little plan here. Where did it go? I see it. Oh yeah, we're going to come to the floor. You can move your chair out of the way. And you can have your blanket under your knees if you'd like. We're going to be doing some cat-cow from here and thread the needle. So let's get into the spine. Rounding the spine and then extending the spine. So the wrists are under the shoulders and the knees are under the hips. As you exhale, you round, Pull the belly in. Stretch the space behind your heart. As you inhale, the tailbone and sits bones reach up back behind you and your gaze moves up. Good. And on your own with your breath, just moving in and out of cat and cow. Good. Come to flat tabletop and bring your left hand to the center of your mat or more toward the center, and then lift your right arm up. So if you have any shoulder sensitivity, you can stop halfway, or you can hold on to your shoulder with your hand. Otherwise, we're going to reach up like you're reaching to the sky. You can do that with your hand on your elbow if you need to. And then scoop your hand under your left arm and lay your head down on the mat. Extend your left arm out in front of you. And feel free to have little micro movements. You can shift your weight around and notice what you feel. Big breath and let it out. Just think of this as peeling the layers away from the heart, from the back of the heart. Maybe those layers that protect you from feeling vulnerable or protect you from showing all of yourself, maybe because it feels not safe. And just soften the space behind the heart. Bring your left hand close to your body again so you can press yourself back up. And then bring your right hand more to the center of your mat. And then the left arm comes up, reaches to the sky, and then slowly comes under the right side. Extend that right arm. Press the left arm into the floor to give you a little more resistance or traction. And breathe here. What is your truth right now? What is true for you in this moment? Good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant. Good. Bring your right hand close to your body so you can press yourself up. We're going to use our blocks now, and I've got my blanket pretty thick, you know, just for knee softness. And I'm going to walk my blocks out in front of me, bring the right foot with me so you can come into a lunge. And take this lunge as deep as you would like or feel like you can. Uncurl your back toes if that works for you. And first just feel around. Just feel like, okay, what's my lunge today look like? What does it feel like? Where does my foot need to be placed? And when you find your lunge, bring your shoulders back and down. So it's like you're just like a turtle's head just kind of coming out of the shell. So think of that extension of the neck and head. And the shell is your shoulders and back, and they're going to drop down. Good. And belly pulls in. Breathe here. Good. Very good. So you can use your blocks as you need to. We're going to come into a crescent lunge with the arms up. So you're going to press into that front leg. You'll feel that firing up. And bring your arms up overhead. You might even bring your palms together and cross one thumb over the other. With your belly pulled in, just reach up to the heavens and see if you can gaze up just a little bit, which will take you into a little bit of a back bend. Good. And then bring your hands back down. Pause here in your lunge. And then start to move your knee, if it's comfortable for you, move your knee in and out just a bit, just massaging the hip joint. Good. And then one more crescent lunge. So press into that front foot, feel your strength lifting you up, arms come overhead. If you had your palms together, this time cross the other thumb over and reach up, pull the belly and tuck your tailbone just a little bit, and maybe look up, maybe a tiny lean back. This is a bit of a balance pose here. Breathing, and bring your hands back to your blocks. Really good. Okay, we're gonna change sides. But before we change sides, just take a little child's pose or cat-cow and release your back. And then when you're ready, taking the lunge on the left side. Bring all of your attention inward to what you feel. What do you notice? What is true for you right now? Engage your pelvic floor, so pulling up on the pelvic floor and up on the lower belly to create stability in the lower back. And then when you're ready, pressing into that front foot, reaching the arms up overhead for your crescent lunge. Cross one thumb over the other. If that's not accessible or doesn't feel good, you can always have the hands spread wide and reach the arms back. Whatever is working for you today. Good. Breathe. And bring your hands down. Come back into your lunge. Move your knee in and out just a bit. Still rocking from side to side if that feels good. And then last time, pressing into that front foot, come into your crescent lunge with your other thumb crossing over this time, gazing up. This time just a little tuck of the tailbone, so squeeze your right glutes and tuck your tailbone. Good, and release. Hands back down to the block. And then bring that foot back and take a child's pose. If child's pose is ever real hard on your ankles or your knees, you can put a cushion under those ankles, under the feet, and you can widen your knees a bit before coming into child's pose. It feels good even if child's pose is normally comfortable. It's a nice little addition. And rest here and just feel your forehead on the mat or whatever your forehead is resting on. Feel as if that mask that you wear, the mask that you wear all of the day for the world around you, feel as if it could melt off of your face and just return to the earth. Just give the mask away. Let it go. Revealing your essence, your etzem. And if you have a mask that you're really attached to, that's okay too. Just be truthful about it, right? Satya, be truthful. And when you're ready, go ahead and bring your hands close to your body and rise up. We're going to come to stand, and this time we'll have our massage ball and our strap nearby. You can move your blanket off to the side. You can have your blocks also nearby for when we come forward into a forward fold, but for now we're just using the ball. We're going to take the ball in the left hand and just massage that right side of the chest. And if you aren't using a ball, you can use your fingertips. Totally fine. That's really effective as well. Just pressing with your fingertips into the muscles of your chest and holding, kind of firmly holding that muscle as you row your arm back or around. It's a really great sports massage technique. So ball or fingers, both are great. And then switch over to the other side. So change hands. Keep your knees soft so you can really connect to the mat and let your like that rebound happen from the floor up through your body. Good. All right, we can place the ball off to the side and use the strap next. So we'll bring the strap behind our back with the palms facing away. So I'll just show you. I've got my palms facing away, about shoulder width, maybe a little more than shoulder width apart to start. And we're standing with mountain pose feet, so about hip width apart with the feet. Hold onto your strap and reach your heart forward and pull the strap. So you create some tension in the strap here. And then if it's okay for your shoulders today, you're going to start to bend your knees, pull the belly in, and fold forward with a flat back, and just bring that strap behind you, getting into the arm muscles, the chest, the shoulders. You're going to feel this probably in your legs as well. Reaching the strap as far as you can comfortably, just until you feel a stretch, and that will be different for everyone. And then look up first, start to look up, lead with your heart, and come up in that reverse, kind of that reverse swan dive we practice. And roll your shoulders, and release your strap, keep it nearby. So we're going to take Pashimotanasana, which is your wide-legged forward fold. I just realized I have my socks on. This is not effective for a Pashimotanasana. Okay, open up your legs and your toes face forward. Get them really nice and wide as you can comfortably without losing contact with your outer feet on the mat. So make sure you can feel your outer feet on the mat. Hands, bring them to your hip crease and feel that as you come forward, you kind of pinch the fingers. Keep your back as flat as you can, and then land either toward the floor or on blocks. Release your head. Again, a great inversion to bring calmness to the nervous system and blood flow to the brain. To create the environment so that we can see more clearly and see with more honesty. Good, we're going to press into the hands and heel toe the feet together. And you don't have to do that all the way to standing. I'm going to grab my strap. I encourage you to grab your strap as well. You can come up just enough to bring the strap behind your back, just like we did with just a minute ago with our warm-up. And then you can reposition your feet back out and start to pull on the strap and reach your heart forward, and then come forward again, bringing the strap behind you. Make sure this works for your body. If this feels like you're getting any sharp pains or you're forcing yourself, then just modify, pull back a little bit. Be kind and gentle with your body. If you have the strap in your hands, you can just drop it behind you. And then use your hands to press you up. Walk your feet all the way together, or as much as you can. And then come up nice and slow, flat back. Ooh, good. Bring your feet together like you're going to zip up your legs, like you're a big zipper from ankle to thighs. Bring your arms up overhead and just lean to one side. Good, and to the other. And back up, and then a tiny, tiny back bend. Squeeze your thighs, pull your belly in, Just a little tiny back bend, gazing up. And release. Hands to the heart. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do our single leg forward fold from a seated position. So if you want to do that from seated on the ground, then I would just encourage you to have, you'll probably want more than one blanket. So the edge of a blanket to sit on, and then maybe a blanket to roll to put under your knee. There's a lot of ways to do this. So it really just depends on how your lower back is and how comfortable you are. But I'm going to first show the chair version by having, I'm sitting on one chair and then I have the other chair with the back to the side so it doesn't get in my way. And I'm going to take the strap and the blanket, all this stuff, all this good stuff is going to come with me. So for the blanket, we've got it folded in half and then in half again. And then it's going to be individual to everybody, but I'm going to just kind of roll it / fold it so it creates a little place I can nestle into my belly under my ribs, right at that hip crease. Okay, so that's there. And then I have my strap as well. So bring your left foot out in front of you enough so that if it's underneath your chair, you're not going to be stable. So bring it out to give you stability. Bring your right foot up to the chair. So come to the edge of your chair so that you're not rounding your back. And bring your strap around your foot. Good. And this is an option. All of these are just a myriad of ways you could do the same thing. So listen to your body, and if you go, hey, this other thing feels kind of better, I'm going to do this. Trust your body. So you've got your blanket here, and you're holding the straps, and you're going to try to keep the heart and chest open and hinge forward again. And notice as you hinge forward, you're finding a place to land. It's giving some extra support. You might find you don't need as much of that. You might want to unfold it by a roll. Or maybe you say, okay, I've done that for a minute. I don't need it anymore at all. So just notice where you're at. So the seated chair version takes out the worry about the left leg right now. It's just our stabilizer. And then we look toward our knee, gaze down, flex the foot. Good, breathe in. It does not matter how far you go. So if you feel yourself really rounding in the upper back, then I encourage you to loosen up on the strap so that you can bring your elbows back and then hinge just a little less. Point your toes toward the sky. Squeeze your thigh muscle, your upper front thigh. And release. Good. We're going to take the other side. So we use this blanket in place of a bolster, a yoga bolster, which are just stuffed and round, and there's different sizes. But I like the blanket too because it's really versatile. So you've got your right leg out enough to the side and in front of you so you feel stable. Get that strap around your left foot. Bring your elbows close to your rib cage to start, just to encourage the heart to be open. Your little bolster / blanket is under your ribs, and fold, or I should say hinge, because we're hinging, not rounding. Good, and if you're on the floor, just paying attention to that lower back. Make sure you're not feeling a lot happening and pulling in the lower back and those ligaments. Let's take another couple breaths here. Good, So sometimes it's easier, it feels better and easier for the body to do one leg at a time, rather than, even if you're on a blanket. So this is, one of the most popular yoga poses is Pashimotanasana, or this forward west side stretch it's called. But this can really stress out the lower back, even if you're on the edge of a blanket and even if you're using a strap. So you want to be really careful coming into this. So that's the one leg version on a chair is really nice to focus in on each set of hamstrings individually. Let's come to our back. So you can release your blanket. If you have one, move your chair out of the way. Have at least one block nearby. And we're going to take a series of bridges because we've done a lot of forward folds, so we want to just counteract that movement by getting some opening through the front of the body. So I actually will recommend that you place a block between your thighs. And as you do that, you might walk your feet a little closer together so that your feet feel like they're lined up with your knees. And then walk them back towards your buns a bit. And then shimmy around so that your shoulder blades feel like they're flat on the floor. And squeeze the block. And once your block is squeezed and held in place, you can start to peel your hips off the floor, press into your feet, lift up into just a little bridge to start. Notice as you lift, you might lose connection with the inner thighs. So keep that connection. So you're working your core here as you squeeze the block. These intrinsic core muscles. Breathe. Feel your back body firing up. And then lower down. Pause here. And when you're ready, squeeze the block. Press into your feet. Lift those hips up, either to the same height, or maybe you'll be ready to have them a little higher. Maybe you'll hold on to your hands underneath or roll your shoulders underneath your body. Squeeze the block and lower down. Good. Pause here. Let's take the block away from the knees and then hug your knees into your chest. Let those knees open wide and rock from side to side. Do some ankle circles. Bring your knees back together and bring the feet to the floor. So we'll use the block again. This time we're going to place it under the sacrum, right under the very, very tip of the lower back. So slide the block underneath you. It might touch like the top of your hip bones and part of your tailbone. Somewhere around there is going to be like a little sweet spot where you can release your weight and it feels like you're supported and fairly comfortable. So this is supported bridge. And then if you would like more of an inversion or moving toward a true inversion, you can bring your legs up overhead. Now the block is in the lowest setting. So in order for it to be a true inversion, we want the head below the heart, right? So some of us might be at that place, but for just your own personal practice, if you're looking for an inversion, you can use a higher, like a bolster, or use the block on a higher setting, which sometimes feels a little unstable. Or if you don't want the support of the block, you can always practice a half shoulder stand by just holding your hips up. I know some of you practice that. I'm not going to teach it because I can't see you well enough to help make corrections for safety. But if you know it and you feel confident, you can take that pose as an inversion. But this, with the supported block underneath, is lovely. Lots of good benefits. just rest here. If you are using a block, just let your arms open and your palms reach up to the sky. And then start to bend your knees and bring them toward your chest, nice and slow. And then 1 foot at a time finds its way back to your mat. And then release the block. And with your knees bent, you'll keep them bent and then walk your feet to the outer edges of your mat. So you're kind of leaning those knees in toward each other. And then reach your arms overhead if that works for you. And keeping your feet placed where they are, just let your knees start to move over to the left. So the soles of the feet will come off the mat, but the placement of the feet will stay generally in the same area. And pause there. We're looking for a stretch in the abdominal area, like the side abdominals, and deep into the hip flexors here. And as you breathe, think of you're like inflating a balloon deep inside the side abdominals. Press your right knee, just activate the right knee toward the ground a little bit more. And then very slowly, pull your belly in first, very slowly bring the knees through center. And then drop them over to the right. With a lot of your attention on the right thigh and knee actively pressing toward the floor. Inflate that abdominal area with nice full deep breaths. Good. So release the activity of that top leg and activate the core and bring the knees back to center. Good. And then walk your feet together a little more and take a final twist. So I always like to shift my hips over to the side a little more and then let the knees drop to the opposite direction. So that just is a more gentle twist. But whatever twist you want to take is your final release of tension from the spine. You can do that, or if there's anything else or you want to add to that as a way to prepare your body for Savasana, take this time to do that. And when you get ready to set up for Savasana, if you put your lower legs over the seat of your chair, that's a nice way to take extra pressure off of your lower back. You can always use that as a, not a true inversion, but as a way to bring some fluid and circulation back toward the heart from your feet and legs. As your body finds that surface stillness, thinking of like a lake with ripples on the top of the surface from the wind. So your body is starting to find that surface stillness just coming from a place of little ripples, maybe starting to be a little more calm and peaceful. Notice as you release the weight of your body that calmness, that stillness starts to settle deeper under the surface of the water and the surface of that lake. It just starts to seep down a little deeper and a little deeper until you can imagine that you're like the river, like a riverbed or like the very bottom of a lake, just very calm and peaceful and just not affected by the surface winds and the weather that is around you. And as you rest here, knowing that the body is integrating all of the work you did with the forward folds. And bring your awareness as you continue to rest, bring your awareness deep into your bones now, below the surface of your skin and the masks you might wear, the hairstyles you have, the clothing that you wear, just coming down into the skin, the tan that you may or may not have. Down into the muscles and the fluids. Until you reach the bones of your body. The etzem, the bone, the essence of who you are. That is often concealed, this divine presence that you are, that is often concealed and hidden. Take these moments of silence to ask yourself, who am I? What is my essence? Shalom, 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 shalom. Bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. and ask yourself to speak the truth. What is true for you right now? And when you're ready, start to become more aware, moving from Pratyahara, from that inward focus, starting to move the attention outward to your surroundings, feeling the air on your skin and the mat beneath your body. Let your breath deepen and slowly, gradually find your way to seated if you aren't already there. I invite you to join me in our closing universal blessing. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free. May all beings be loved. And may all beings have peace. May it be so. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Shalom.